This week on Africa Weekly, we head to the perilous border zone between Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, where the French army is fighting alongside the G5 Sahel forces in an attempt to eliminate the threat posed by jihadists. From there, we take a contrasting look at the beaches of the Seychelles Islands, a byword for luxury holidays. But there's trouble in paradise, as the ever-increasing tourist numbers start to pose a threat to the island's fragile ecosystem. But first, let's take a look at the headlines from across the continent this week. There were scenes of celebration on the streets of Malawian capital Lilongwe as the top court annulled the results of the controversial 2019 election that saw President Peter Mutharika re-elected.
I'm here because we are happy, we are very grateful, and I'm here to celebrate with my friends, as you can see behind me. So yeah, we just came here to celebrate, dance, have fun, because you know we won the judgment yesterday after hearing the judgment.
Opposition leader Lazarus Chakwera addressed a crowd of thousands of supporters who had marched to the national headquarters of his Malawi Congress Party.
And now that ruling has come, it is Malawi that has won, it is democracy that has won, it is Africa that has won. Africa is amazing, Malawi is magnificent. Because of who we are and what we've been standing for, the whole world now knows that something good can come out of this little country.
Chakwera narrowly lost the 2019 election, with incumbent President Mutharika winning just 159,000 more votes. Shortly after the results were announced, allegations of vote rigging sparked protests across the normally peaceful country. After 6 months of hearings broadcast on public radio, judges in the court case declared Mutharika was not duly elected. Fresh elections will now be held within 150 days. In Senegalese capital Dakar, a major biomedical research centre has been preparing for the threat posed by the new coronavirus that is spreading across the world. While there is still no confirmed case of the new virus in Africa, the General Administrator of the Louis Pasteur Institute believes that preparation is key to prevention.
The virus is not here yet. Now is the time to prepare, so that if the virus gets here, it will be detected as soon as possible, no matter which country. The sooner it is detected, the more effective we can be in containing its spread.
Meanwhile, a group of Senegalese families have joined forces to demand that President Macky Sall take steps to evacuate their relatives who are stuck in China, where the virus originated. The families say that 13 Senegalese students are stuck in the city of Wuhan. The parents are angry at President Sall's claim that Senegal lacks the resources to airlift the students to safety.
The president's speech broke our hearts, and now we stand ready, not to fight him, but to ask him to go back on what he said. In a way, he effectively admitted to being incompetent. He said Senegal didn't have the means to bring home 13 children who were stranded somewhere in the world. We cannot let this happen.
Chinese authorities have cordoned off the city of Wuhan, epicenter of the virus outbreak that has killed at least 630 people and infected 30,000 more in China alone. The UN's Libya envoy assessed the progress made in talks between representatives of the country's warring parties as the organisation seeks to negotiate a lasting ceasefire.
We have before us a significant number of points of convergence. Are we happy with what we have? Certainly yes. Is this complete? Certainly not.
The conflict in Libya deepened last April when military strongman Khalifa Haftar launched an assault to seize Tripoli, the base of the UN-recognised Government of National Accord. The oil-rich North African country has been mired in chaos since a 2011 NATO-backed uprising that killed longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi, with two rival administrations vying for power. Former Kenyan President Daniel Arap Moi, who ruled the country with an iron fist between 1978 and 2002, died on Tuesday at the age of 95. Family members and colleagues of Moi gathered at a funeral home in Nairobi and paid tribute to the man. A public memorial service will take place on Tuesday at Nyayo Stadium in Nairobi. French soldiers sweep the border zone between Mali and Burkina Faso on the trail of jihadists or of any clues that might lead to their capture. After several minutes of marching, their hunt bears fruit. They find a motorbike and a bag. These seemingly insignificant objects can yield valuable military intelligence. For 15 days in November, French troops set out across the lawless region where the borders of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger meet. Head of the operation, Colonel Lemerle, has called the area a jihadist sanctuary.
It's a cross-border region, so you can easily cross from one side to another, and it's a very inaccessible region with cover and a complicated trafficking network. So it's an ideal area to hide and handle a logistics network.
French troops are participating in their first joint ground operation with the armies of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. Known as Bourgu 4, the 1,400-strong military operation is meant to tackle the rise in jihadist attacks in the region over the past few weeks. Northern Burkina Faso has been particularly affected.
We intend to really show the population that we are present and that we are ready to help and fight by their side.
It's no easy task. French intelligence intercepted messages from a prominent jihadist and traced his telephone to a location accurate to within 300 meters. Tension rises. The soldiers have orders to fire without warning, but after 5 hours of marching, they reach a village where everyone has already fled.
We regularly receive intelligence, but the difficulty is in reaching the target quickly. We often reach the target and they've had time to escape.
The joint forces face an elusive enemy which melts into the population. The result is that the French army suspects every villager of being a jihadist. The soldiers let nothing go, even if their actions upset the local population. There is a vast gulf between the French army's resources and the resources of the Sahel armies, but close cooperation is still an imperative.
They don't have the same logistics or equipment as us, but they have important knowledge of the ground and they want to work.
Numerous challenges abound, however. The armies of border countries are still working out how to cooperate, a process which is not without friction. On November the 16th, for example, Burkina Faso accused the Malian army of abuse carried out in a village in its territory. The Instagram-perfect beaches of the Seychelles just can't help looking like a tourism advert at all times. For many years, holidaying here was seen as a luxury afforded only to a small number. However, reflecting a global trend, this group of 115 islands off the coast of East Africa is seeing visitor numbers climb ever higher. From 2008 to 2018, the number of visitors doubled to 360,000, over 4 times the country's population.
Tourism in Seychelles in general is increasing, and that is of concern to conservationists like myself, to sustainable developers like myself, who find that maybe we're reaching a point which experts call over-tourism.
And yet tourism is a vital part of this nation's economy, accounting for more than 60% of its GDP. The key issue for the government is working out how to maintain this industry without letting it overrun the place. To preserve the status of these islands as a high-end luxury destination, the government introduced a temporary ban in 2015 on the construction of new hotels on the 3 main islands. And on further flung islands, the Seychelles practices a one island, one resort policy, all with the aim of avoiding becoming a mass tourism destination.
Development is kept to a minimum, and that it does not really destroy what we inherited. And for us to keep the waters clean, you know, the marine environment that is teeming with fish, the attractions that are in there, and that people feel very much, you know, that you are in an environment which is still very much intact compared to many other places.
Luxury hotels are among the biggest sources of pollution in the Seychelles. Many import their groceries from abroad and have around-the-clock dependence on oil-powered generators for electricity. This resort, on the island of Silhouette, is taking steps to reduce its environmental impact. For example, a blanket ban on the use of plastic bottles.
In 1 year, we managed to save almost around 400,000 bottles of plastic. So it was the first measure we took by starting to produce our own water, which comes from Mount Duban, our own little mountain, and eventually bottling this water and giving it to our clients complimentary.
The Seychelles Tourism Ministry says it believes the island could ultimately absorb up to around 500,000 tourists per year. Any more than that, and the worry is that the country's vast amounts of protected natural spaces could come under threat. Tennis star Roger Federer arrived in Cape Town 2 days ahead of a charity match against Rafael Nadal. It's one of the sport's biggest and most popular rivalries, and he hopes that this will be reflected in the amount of money the match raises.
Yes, at least $1 million. I think it's going to be more than that. Obviously coming from ticket sales, from sponsors, but then also we have a foundation dinner the night before.
The proceeds of the event will go towards the development of education opportunities for children across the continent. That's all from this week's edition of Africa Weekly. Until next time.